Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Former Ohio State punter Cameron Johnston signs with Pittsburgh Steelers. The start of NFL free agency has been busy. The league's legal tampering period began on Monday afternoon and eligible players were quickly being swooped up left and right. One of those players was former Ohio State punter Cameron Johnston. According to Aaron Wilson of KPRC2 in Houston, Johnston has agreed to terms with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This will be the third team for Johnston, who will enter his 8th NFL season. Johnston began his career with the Philadelphia Eagles and then moved to the Houston Texans. After a productive 4-year career at Ohio State, Johnston was an undrafted free agent in 2017. The Geelong, Victoria, Australian native signed a contract with the Eagles shortly after the NFL draft. Johnston quickly became a key special teams player in Philadelphia, averaging 48.1 yards per punt during his rookie season. During his 3 seasons with the Eagles, Johnston averaged 47 yards per kick, 41.8 net yards per punt, managed 17 touchbacks and 78 punts that landed inside the 20-yard line. Following the 2020 season, Johnston was again a free agent, signing a deal with the Texans. He continued to be productive in Texas, averaging 47.4 yards per attempt, 41.8 net yards per attempt, 11 touchbacks, and placed 104 punts inside the 20-yard line. Johnston led the NFL in total punts, 88, and punt yards in 2021, 4,108, and had his best season of his career in 2022 when he averaged 48.1 yards per punt and had a career-high 37 kicks downed inside the 20-yard line. When Johnston came to Columbus in 2013, finding a former Australian rules football player to be a collegiate punter was still a relatively new idea. For years later, and programs across the country looked down under in hopes to find the range and specificity Johnston brings to his punts. After leading the Big Ten in punting 2 of his first 3 seasons, Johnston entered 2016 with high expectations. Twice, he was a Ray Guy Award semifinalist, but was never able to bring home the award. His senior year was one to remember. Johnston ranked 5th nationally and 1st in the conference with an average of 46.2 yards per punt as he helped place Ohio State near the top of the country in the opponent's average starting field position. In Pittsburgh, Johnston will join former Buckeye defensive tackle Cameron Heyward. He will hope to continue his punting success as the Steelers look to get back to the NFL playoffs in 2024 after losing to the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round this past season. Antonio Brown drops hilarious Bill Burr trolling on new Steelers punter. Former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown had a stellar career with the team. He eventually departed for the Tampa Buccaneers, but he has inserted himself back into the conversation. Brown made an amusing Bill Burr comment on new Pittsburgh punter Cameron Johnston. News broke that Cameron Johnston had signed a new deal with Pittsburgh after his 3-year stint with the Philadelphia Eagles. Johnston bears a striking resemblance to comedian Bill Burr. Of course, Antonio Brown could not resist pointing this out and made a funny comment on X. Brown's days in the NFL may be over, but the former Steelers-turned-Buccaneers receiver is still entertaining fans with jokes. On a more serious note, Cameron Johnston has the potential to bolster the Steelers' punting unit. In 2023-24, Johnston kicked 66 punts and averaged 47.7 yards per kick. In addition, his longest punt was 77 yards and he kicked 30 punts inside of the 20-yard line, which ranked 6th and 7th in the NFL, respectively. Johnston will be a fine addition alongside third-year punter Presley Harvin. Harvin's 78 punts in 23-24 ranked 7th in the league. It is great to see Pittsburgh enhancing the special teams unit as the squad reloads from its subpar postseason run. After going 10-7, the Steelers barely squeezed into the playoffs as an AFC wild card. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills stopped Pittsburgh's advances with a 31-17 victory. Nevertheless, the Steelers have what it takes to improve in 2024-25. As the NFL free agency period heats up, it will be interesting to see the other depth-bolstering moves Pittsburgh makes. Russell Wilson to Steelers, what they're saying in Denver. The Russell Wilson era in Pittsburgh is officially expected to begin this week, with an anticipated signing between the quarterback and the Steelers. Wilson has indicated that he plans to sign with the Steelers once the NFL calendar year begins on Wednesday. But what about the city he left behind? In Denver, Wilson's last home, everyone seems to be ready to move on. The Broncos refuse to use the R word, said Troy Rink, Denver Post columnist in a roundtable with other sports writers. It's semantics. They are rebuilding. This reframes expectations and provides Siri Maps directions for each decision moving forward. They should draft a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy if he is available at 11 or 12. They cannot afford to keep sacrificing draft picks, but moving up one spot would be reasonable. Post-Broncos beat writer Ryan McFadden said the Broncos virtually need to do what the Steelers are doing and sign another veteran quarterback. Whether the Broncos take a quarterback in the first round or not, they should sign a veteran quarterback, he said. While I like the idea of trying to get quarterback Baker Mayfield, it's hard for me to see him leaving Tampa Bay, especially after the Buccaneers re-signed wide receiver Mike Evans. Denver Gazette columnist Woody Page reflected on the Denver debacle. Goodbye, Russ. Good luck. Good riddance, he wrote. Wilson is gone, but the residue of a guaranteed $39 million contract in 2024, an $85 million salary cap hit over 2 seasons and the $124 million the Broncos already paid the face of the franchise will remain as a permanent reminder of the worst football and financial fiasco, farce and failure in NFL history. As for the next quarterback in Denver? Whatever happens, the Broncos can't be wrong again, Page wrote. They've suffered in Never Never Land for 8 straight seasons with bad quarterbacks, bad head coaches, bad generals. The Broncos cannot be wrong again. Broncos country, let's ride with a quarterback in the draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers have jumped into NFL free agency ahead of schedule by hosting visits for 2 players, center Mitch Morse and quarterback Russell Wilson. Wilson's meeting with the Steelers went exceptionally well and lasted for an extended period, as shared by Josina Anderson on X. Heard Russell Wilson had a great meeting in Pittsburgh so far. I was told he sat with Steelers OC Arthur Smith 4 hours and that he looked happy. I was also told Wilson did his homework reaching out to some players in advance, per source, she reported. Friday has been bustling as it wraps up the final week of the 2023 league year. Looking ahead, next week brings the legal tampering period kicking off on Monday, followed by the official start of the new league year and free agency on Wednesday. The Steelers find themselves with only 2022 first-round pick Kenny Pickett currently under contract at quarterback. Mason Rudolph, who started 3 games for Pittsburgh last season, is entering free agency. Some speculate the Steelers are simply conducting due diligence on a cost-effective, high-pedigree player like Wilson. However, Anderson's tweet implies a different scenario. The Denver Broncos officially announced on Monday release Wilson, signaling the end of his turbulent 2-season stint with the team. Despite high hopes, Denver struggled during Wilson's tenure, posting an 11-19 record in games he started and failing to secure a playoff berth. Broncos coach Sean Payton made the decision to bench Wilson with just 2 games left in the 2023 season, forecasting the end of the quarterback's time with the team. Wilson had put up solid numbers during the season, passing for 3,070 yards with 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions before being benched. Following his arrival in a blockbuster trade with the Seattle Seahawks in 2022, the Broncos signed Wilson to a lucrative 5-year, $242.6 million deal. However, with his release, the team will incur a significant dead money hit of $85 million over the next 2 seasons. After 10 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, during which he earned 9 Pro Bowl selections and won a Super Bowl, Wilson is now seeking a new team, aiming for his 3rd NFL franchise. A 3rd-round pick of Seattle in 2012, Wilson has amassed 43,653 passing yards, along with 334 touchdowns and 106 interceptions over his career. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation Russell Wilson? Leave your opinion in the comments.